Yesterday, the strategic situation in Ukraine has revealed a consistent truth. Russia's war of attrition is producing increasingly smaller returns. The fundamental belief that overwhelming force would secure a decisive victory has been methodically disproven. Throughout 2025, a year that has seen one of the slowest rates of advance for Russian forces since the war began. According to John Foreman, who served as the United Kingdom's defense attaché to Moscow and Kyiv from 2019 to 2022, the invasion constitutes a strategic catastrophe for Russia. His analysis points to a stark mismatch between the vast resources Russia has committed and the minimal territory it has gained. As Foreman observed, its entire year's advance has been tiny, and it seems to be winding down now and resetting for 2026. This assessment is supported by battlefield data from the first quarter of 2025. An analysis from the United Kingdom Ministry of Defense showed a distinct downward trend in Russian territorial gains. In January, Russian forces captured roughly 126 square miles. This number fell to 76 square miles in February, and then dropped again to only 55 square miles in March. A separate analysis by the Institute for the Study of War, or ISW, presented a similar pattern, reporting Russian gains of 165 square miles in January, 137 in February, and 78 in March. Although the specific numbers vary, both sources confirm a major operational slowdown. At 2:15 a.m., the Russian military command initiated a large-scale summer offensive in an attempt to reverse this trend. The operation was designed with two main strategic goals. The first was to create a buffer zone in the Sumy Oblast to shield Russian border territories. The second was to finally capture the vital logistical center of Pokrovsk in the Donetsk Oblast. Despite deploying tens of thousands of soldiers to this effort, Russian forces did not accomplish either of these primary objectives. While they achieved some tactical successes, the land they seized held no strategic value and failed to set the stage for further significant advances. By the end of the summer, it was clear the offensive had lost its momentum. Data published in October by the Deep State Monitoring Group showed that Russia had captured just 100 square miles in September, signaling a return to the low acquisition rates seen at the year's start. Deep State's report further highlighted this decline, noting, "Last month, the enemy occupied 44% less territory than in August." These minimal gains bring the total Ukrainian territory under Russian occupation to 19.04%, a negligible increase for a full year of relentless combat. In sharp contrast, Russian state media channels painted a very different reality, claiming the capture of approximately 1,930 square miles in 2025. Yet, even this exaggerated figure seems insignificant when measured against the human cost. As of October, current assessments indicate that Russia's total casualties since 2022 have surpassed 1 million, with an estimated 281,000 of those losses occurring in 2025 alone. This devastating level of attrition for such little strategic return represents a profound military failure. Unable to achieve a clear victory on the battlefield, Russia has shifted its focus to diplomatic strategies and hybrid warfare. But these efforts have also led to major strategic errors. President Putin's ultimate political goal, the complete subjugation of Ukraine, has not changed, making the possibility of genuine peace talks unlikely. The ineffectiveness of Russia's diplomatic strategy was clear after President Putin met with the United States President Donald Trump in Alaska in August. As Kaja Kallas, a high-ranking European Union official, stated in August, the harsh reality is that Russia has no intention of ending this war anytime soon. Putin continues to drag out negotiations and hopes he gets away with it. He left Anchorage without making any commitments to end the killing. This view is echoed by think tanks like the Atlantic Council, which report that Russia frequently uses the facade of peace negotiations to buy time while simultaneously intensifying its drone and missile attacks. Putin's non-negotiable demands, which include Ukraine ceding large portions of its territory and demilitarizing, continue to be the main barrier to any peaceful resolution. Initially, the political elite in Russia presented the Alaska meeting as a major diplomatic success. Senior lawmaker Andrei Klishas asserted that it confirmed Russia's desire for peace, while Konstantin Kosachev, chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, described it as a significant and joint success. However, John Foreman reports that a different sentiment is now common within Russian circles, where the talks are increasingly seen as a complete waste of time. This change in opinion indicates a growing realization that Putin's attempt to influence the American president did not yield any concrete advantages for Russia. At 3:45 a.m., with diplomatic options proving fruitless, Russia escalated its hybrid warfare campaign targeting Europe. This campaign has a dual strategic purpose: to intimidate Ukraine's allies into scaling back their support, and to draw global attention away from the war. This strategy has resulted in a number of provocative incidents, including a wave of Russian drones entering Polish airspace in early September, and Russian fighter jets violating Estonian airspace just days later. Similar drone activity has been reported over other NATO and EU nations, including Germany, Denmark, Norway, and the Netherlands. However, this approach appears to be counterproductive. Instead of weakening European unity, Russia's aggressive actions have strengthened the resolve of NATO members, who are now actively discussing coordinated military responses to these hybrid threats. Moreover, by splitting his military's attention between the front in Ukraine and provocative gestures toward Europe, Putin is thinning out Russia's focus and resources. This prevents his military leadership from concentrating on and correcting the fundamental strategic mistakes that continue to undermine the campaign in Ukraine. The consequences of Putin's strategic errors reach far beyond the front lines, inflicting considerable damage on Russia's international reputation and its domestic economy. The unsuccessful attempt to use the Alaska summit for political gain has worn away any goodwill that might have remained with the United States. President Trump's public statements have changed significantly. He now openly speaks of increasing aid to Ukraine and has expressed his conviction that Ukraine can reclaim its lost territories. Crucially, his administration is reportedly weighing the option of providing Ukraine with advanced weapon systems, such as Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles. With a range of about 1,500 miles, these missiles would put nearly all of Russia's strategic territory within Ukraine's striking distance. At the same time, a deliberate Ukrainian campaign is striking at the core of the Russian economy. A report last week confirmed that Ukrainian drone attacks hit approximately half of Russia's major oil refineries during August and September alone. It is estimated that as much as 40% of Russia's total refining capacity has been knocked offline. The economic fallout is already evident within Russia, where gasoline and diesel exports have fallen sharply, and fuel shortages have caused long lines and rationing in many regions. Reporting from the Financial Times indicates these highly successful long-range strikes might be facilitated by United States intelligence sharing, marking another serious blow to Putin's strategic plans. While Foreman is careful to note that these strikes by themselves are not likely to bring about a collapse of the Russian economy, he does confirm that Russia is facing severe economic difficulties. When combined with international sanctions and other forms of pressure, the overall impact is substantial. Compounding this pressure, leaders in the European Union are now considering a plan to use frozen Russian assets to underwrite a loan of approximately $150 billion for Ukraine. Such a move would not only offer a vital financial lifeline to Kyiv, but would also further deplete Russia's economic reserves, highlighting another direct outcome of the failed invasion. Perhaps the most serious strategic failure, however, is one developing quietly inside the Kremlin: the total absence of a succession plan. At 73 years old, President Putin has created a political structure that is completely reliant on his personal authority. There is no designated heir being prepared to succeed him, a reality that is pushing Russia toward a major future crisis. As Foreman explains, the problem is that every day he remains in office, the chances of bloodshed when he finally does leave and his successor comes along increase. A power vacuum following Putin's departure could inflict more damage on Russia than any pressure from the West or Ukraine. His failure to prepare the nation for a future without him is a profound vulnerability. This lack of foresight was strangely underscored during a military parade in Beijing. Through an interpreter, Putin reportedly said to China's President Xi Jinping, "Human organs can be continuously transplanted. The longer you live, the younger you become, and you can even achieve immortality." While it was likely an unusual, spontaneous comment, It reflects a mindset that is disconnected from the practical, long-term needs of his nation. Organ transplants cannot solve Russia's impending leadership crisis, and the numerous strategic errors made in Ukraine are ensuring that the country he eventually leaves behind will be isolated, economically damaged, and politically unstable. This commitment of national resources to a losing war has created internal security weaknesses that may ultimately lead to the nation's undoing. As Russia's strategic position continues to evolve, the long-term consequences are only beginning to surface. For ongoing, detailed analysis of this conflict and its global impact, be sure to subscribe. We will continue to track these critical events and provide updates as this complex story develops further.